Right. So, my name's Chris Price. I work at Scott Logic. That's definitely going to break it. And I try to spend as much of my time as possible writing JavaScript. When I'm not doing that, I suppose I'm preparing something like this. And today, I'd like to tell you guys a story. Last time it wasn't such a small stool. Oh, 3 hands. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, there was a clever young man named Tim. One day, he sat down at his desk and created the World Wide Web. And although it started out small, in no time at all, the web's range of topics was too bewildering to call. It covered the entire breadth of human knowledge, a scale never before seen. The people, they were impressed, but they demanded more. Make it interactive, they'd start. Make it faster, they'd cry. More audio, more video. The demands, they just wouldn't stop. Round that corner, drop that shadow. It was all just too much. The poor browser of the day was sidelined. The plugin saw its chance. The Java applets arrived first, soon followed by Flash, Flex not long after, and Silverlight dead last. The people were happy, their needs were fulfilled. The plugin was great, the browser was nilled. The plugin, it offered experiences so much richer than before. It had all the features that people wanted, and rapid innovation brought more. Not only were the people happy, but the developers too. A consistent runtime, and none of that JavaScript. By comparison, the poor browser went into hibernation. But it hadn't given up. Quietly and diligently, the browser got to work. It became faster, it embraced standards, and slowly, it engulfed the best of the plugin's features. Time passed, and before long, the browser offered comparable features and performance. However, the people, they weren't impressed. They'd seen it all before. Slowly, though, the people started to notice things that they hadn't before. Nothing to install, nothing to update. Instant loading. The people, they quickly embraced this new technology. And sooner than anybody had anticipated, the plugin was gone. So, I'd like to tell you another story. This one's called Once Upon a Time There Was an App Store. Or to give it its full title. Oh no, lost it, never mind. So, I'm going to drop the tortured rhyme. If we want to talk about app stores, then we've kind of got to go back to the iPhone launch. And with the iPhone launch, it's important to remember that the very first thing that came about was the mobile web. The mobile web came around before native apps. But the mobile web of the day was it was incredibly limited. It was 10 years ago. The performance of JavaScript in it was pretty awful. It didn't work offline, and the feature set that you got access to compared to what the apps that were built into the iPhone, what they got access to, it wasn't up to par. And in that context, along came native mobile apps, and they were great. They offered everything that I've just said was terrible about the original mobile web. You could play poker on your phone, on the tube. The connection could be rubbish. Didn't matter. It just worked. It unlocked access to performance because it was using a lower level construct, and it offered access to all of the features of the device. So Bluetooth and everything that came with that. Push notifications, they came along a little bit later. That was truly the era of the App Store. The App Store at the time, curated directory, about 100 odd apps in it. Every single app was an incredibly high level of finish, just really great. No one cared that Apple was taking 40%. It's kind of brand new revenue stream for them. Quick mention of PhoneGap. Can't talk about web and HTML5 without mentioning PhoneGap. I'm not going to talk about it for the rest of the thing. It was a kludge that needed to exist for a brief period in time. For the rest of it, I'm talking about the web platform, not PhoneGap. So what's the browser been up to since then? That was about 10 years ago. Have things changed? Well, the 4 areas I called out, it's offline support, features, performance, and discoverability. Offline support, if anyone's been following, I'm sure you have. The big news is Service Worker. Service Worker basically gives you offline performance, offline ability. It's basically a local proxy that you can control. That means you're not falling back to the browser's Chrome whenever you're offline. If you're offline, you're in complete control of it. Not only that, it's kind of laying the foundations for many of the more advanced features, so push notification. Your phone can be in your pocket, and you can still push a notification to your web app, and it will show up as a notification to someone's phone, and then they can launch it and be straight into your app. And yeah, that's the foundation for a number of features that are coming. As well as that, you've got performance. So for performance, I could throw up charts. You'd be bored. I'd be bored. Instead of that, let's show you a demo of someone else dying on stage. So this is Mr. Steve Jobs introducing the original iPhone. This is him, clearly, with the best Wi-Fi setup, the best projector setup. And he's loading, basically, a newspaper homepage. And this is the best it could do. It's great. It's amazing. It takes 1 minute 30 to launch a newspaper homepage. Like, yeah. Right, I'm bored. So this is a demo that Jake Archibald did at Google I/O 2016. Now, it's iterating very rapidly and quite jerkily, but you can see, hopefully, you're thinking this is him launching a native app. He's straight into a native app. He's in. That's what a user would perceive it as. This is a progressive web app, completely HTML5. I don't think a user can tell the difference in performance there. When we talk about performance, I think we get caught up on really kind of high-end stuff. This is what users perceive as performance. Then you've got features. So on the features, basically, the web platform started 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, Android couldn't decide whether you wanted a keyboard or not. You couldn't decide whether you wanted to interact with it using a trackball. And in every year at the start, there was just features being piled in. And they were all great. Every single one of them is great, and they're features that we now take for granted. But as a platform, mobile's kind of stabilized. So in my opinion, the browser's always going to lag native. There's always going to be features that are available on the phone that aren't available in the browser. Good standards take time. But that's kind of a good thing. Yeah, so mobile phone feature set is relatively mature now, and now we're just seeing small incremental improvements. So feature-wise, it's probably good enough. And finally, discoverability. So the App Store, that's when it first started out. It was great. It was a directory. It was what people, how people discovered stuff and how you found an app, and you knew that those apps were great. If you think back, that's how the web started. The web started as a directory of pages That's how you found other pages, and they were curated, and that's how you ensured quality. We found out that doesn't scale. And so on the web, we've now got Google. That's how people discover brand new content. And then you've got the concept of URL sharing, and that's how people how it spreads amongst peers. So I think actually the web, in that situation, completely trumps the App Store. So state of the browser, offline support, tick, features, tick, performance, yeah, discoverability. So, is it good enough that we should now be embracing this, and is it the end of the App Store? Well, my prediction. Slowly, the people notice things that they hadn't before. Nothing to install, nothing to update, instant loading. The people quickly embraced this new technology, and sooner than anyone had thought, the App Store was gone.